Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by the following. By Coca-Cola, serving Alaska quality soft drinks since 1937.
And by the Southcentral Foundation, serving Alaska Natives and American Indians in South Central Alaska.
And by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute, educating consumers and promoting sales of Alaska seafood throughout the U.S. and in international markets.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder. Revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green. Thank you so much for joining us for more Native news. On today's program, we travel from Borough, Alaska all the way to Washington, D.C. with some students. We have some new music videos, compliments of Wache recording First Nations music out of Scarborough, Canada. The artist is Lawrence Martin. We have all that plus much more. Stay tuned. But first, here's Gary Fife with Native news across the nation.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder. There's a heartbeat coming up from deep down under. There's a heartbeat.
This is Native News Across the Nation. I'm Gary Fife. An audit by the U.S. Interior Department says that tribes themselves have been doing a better job of handling money and performing needed services than the Bureau of Indian Affairs did when it was in charge. The Interior report says the Self-Governance Project is working for tribes that have the administrative staff large enough and stable enough to handle the task. The Self-Governance Project allows tribal governments to list their own priorities for using federal funds, and it relieves the federal agency of providing governmental and administrative support. The report says tribes assuming those responsibilities and control reported a sense of pride and accomplishment. The issue of oil drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, ANWR, has long had Native opinions on both sides of the issue. Now the Alaska Federation of Natives has taken a stand in favor of oil development. The move came after AFN's Board of Directors debated the issue, with both sides registering their opinions on the matter. Reports in the Anchorage Daily News say some northern Eskimo corporate leaders pushed for development, while Gwich'in Athabascans argued for protection of caribou herds in the region. Reaction of Native Americans to the sale of ritual objects has led to a new and formal policy from the international auctioneer Sotheby's. The American Indian Ritual Object Repatriation Foundation of New York City has been leading such efforts. They report that the objections of the Haudenosaunee Standing Committee to the sale of false face masks moved the auctioneer to notify tribes when such ritual objects will now be put up for sale. The foundation called it a big step, and for more information on their policy, contact Sotheby's in New York City. Aleuts of Alaska will now be allowed to travel between their homes and Russia without a visa. The State Department and the Immigration and Naturalization Services have approved a request by Alaska U.S. Senator Ted Stevens. The move would make it easier for Aleuts to go for family, cultural, and spiritual reasons. The Aleuts have close ties to families and the Russian Orthodox Church. Alaska natives of the Bering Straits regions have had such a privilege since 1989. Well, the Walt Disney movie makers have released their fictionalized version of the story of Pocahontas to huge and welcoming crowds. The animated film has been welcomed by most moviegoers, but it has been criticized by some natives for changing the age of the young Powhatan girl who was only 12 years old during that incident with European settlers. But if you're more interested in the real thing, descendants of the famed native girl are celebrating in her honor during the 6th annual Virginia Indian Heritage Festival near Colonial Williamsburg. It features the customs and traditions of Virginia's 8 resident tribes. And finally, 3 more Native Americans have been added to the American Indian Athletic Hall of Fame at Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas. Honorees include Muskogee Creek football player Thomas Stidham, who died in 1964, and he was honored for his career that spanned collegiate and professional football ranks. Santee Sioux tribal member Karen Mackey was honored for her championship achievements in the sport of judo. And Dawn Allen Coffin, a Quapaw Cherokee Yuchi, was honored for her championship tennis record, which included 2 years of competition on Haskell's men's team, where she went undefeated. This is Native News across the nation. For Heartbeat Alaska, I'm Gary Fife.
Hi, Jeannie Green. This is Electric School. We watch Heartbeat Alaska.
Let's travel now from Borough, Alaska to Washington, D.C. Tina Corwin reporting.
Thank you, Jeannie. As part of a leadership and political process training program funded by the North Slope Borough and overseen by Ilisagvik College, 16 students from villages across the North Slope traveled to Washington, D.C. recently to make their voices heard on Capitol Hill. The program, developed by Educational Opportunities Unlimited, or EOU, in Borough, is designed to help young people build leadership and public speaking skills and show them how to become involved in issues of significance to the North Slope. This first year, participants focused on legislation surrounding possible drilling on the coastal plain of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
This past year, we've had the privilege of working with the Leadership Training Program. This is a program that was supported by Mayor Mauak and his Chief of Staff, Tony Kessler, and also Special Assistant Gigi Danner. And they worked very hard for about a year to make sure this program would be operational during the 1994-1995 school year. And the program aimed at identifying young leaders throughout the North Slope and bringing them together in a group and having them concentrate on significant political issues to the North Slope.
In September, students submitted applications to the program and began studying the legislative process. Throughout the year, EOU's Carolyn JEssup Sessom distributed information and activity packets to all the participants. In June, 16 of the 42 students involved in the program applied to go to Washington and lobby their representatives. The group spent 2 weeks at a retreat in Wasilla, Alaska, brushing up on their public speaking skills and learning how to address members of Congress. After all their study and preparation, the group was ready to go to Washington.
What is your biggest concern about NWAR?
We should protect the wildlife, protect the native plants, but that there should be a way to permit oil and gas leasing, mineral exploration, subject to that kind of protection. We call them stipulations to protect. That's been changed now to the point where it's a prohibition against doing anything in that 14 million acres except that 1.5 million acres along the coast. We think there are very heavy concentrations of metals in that area. There's a lot of coal in that area. The time will come, I think, when future generations might need that coal.
As you know, the president formed a presidential advisory committee, right? Do you know if they're gonna extend the testimonial dates? And if so, where does Project Chariot stand?
I'd have to check on whether we extend that. Where's my staff? Are you writing? You know, you don't sit there with a pen and listen, you write, okay? Project Chariot, the commission set forth by the president, and whether they're going to extend it, I can't answer that.
My biggest concern was I wanted to find out if they're going to do a health survey or any kind of checkup on the people, checking if it affected them in any way.
Well, I like DC, and I've enjoyed it, and the people. Well, I mean, just the variety. Cause my most memorable experience would be going to the Washington Monument, going to the top and looking at the whole city from up top, and it's very pretty, and I think that would be my most memorable time, and also the Lincoln Memorial.
When business was over, the students had the opportunity to visit many world-famous sites like the White House and surrounding monuments. They even saw protesters. They also visited the National Cathedral, where they saw Vice President Al Gore. Sightseeing stops included Arlington National Cemetery, Ford's Theater, where Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and Mount Vernon, home of George Washington. A visit to a mosque at the Islamic Center required dressing in traditional clothes. The National Zoo was also a big hit. Some of the students had never seen animals like elephants, giraffes, and gorillas. Upon returning to Alaska, Carolyn JEssup Sessom, who founded Educational Opportunities Unlimited, said the trip was an excellent learning experience for everyone. She said the kids were challenged to seek out leadership positions in their schools and communities. She added, like one participant from Uktasuk said, "After being in D.C., now my eyes are open and I think I might like to run for Congress someday." That's all the news from the North Slope. For Heartbeat Alaska and the North Slope Borough, I'm Tina Corwin.
Thank you, Tina. Let's take a few moments now. I'd like to introduce you to an artist well known across Canada, but hello Alaska and the lower 48. Here is Lawrence Martin. Once again, I'd like to thank First Nations Music from Sioux Lookout, Ontario for sending me the video on Lawrence Martin. Mr. Martin, by the way, is a remarkable man. He's Cree Indian. He was born on the Moose Factory Reserve in Canada and is presently the mayor of Sioux Lookout in Canada. The first mayor, by the way, that was Native. So congratulations, Mr. Martin. He's also, as you could see, a remarkable musician and songwriter. Earlier in the program on Heartbeat Alaska, we presented North Slope Borough News. In that news segment, Senator Ted Stevens gave his position on ANWR. For those of you watching for the first time, ANWR stands for Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. It's a controversial issue here in the state. The Gwich'in people from the northern area of Alaska are concerned that the caribou herds will be decimated or at least depleted somehow and damaged by potential oil development. They met in 1988. And judging by this video sent to me from Arctic Village, produced by NEDAA out of Canada, things have not changed much.
The powerful forces of oil and gas development, culture and technology is invading their world, threatening the soul of their society. As the friends and family of Sarah John Frank prepare her for her journey into the next world, they are faced with their own mortality. Will the caribou they live on and their land they treasure be allowed to exist? Will the lessons of the Gwich'in survive for their children and the children of tomorrow?
Ichen dat tahik etchet ichikut at nan chanatsikio het nihlene street at kinchin chiatsi wat zai enchan koka kuthet atattal kuthet atattal hanikit kwesa.
Aware of the changes that threaten their nation, the Gwich'in gathered in Arctic Village, Alaska in June 1988. Such meetings were common in the past and helped in times of trouble.
Last time in the Ticket contact, Canadian Gwich'in had affected in the case. The last time, the big celebration Queensy didn't cheat the second for stadium and it's not saying he says here about the last gathering. I'm Chup that Nick was a dingy that second
That's the reason why this gathering is for this, to know one another, to be one another, because we are all Gwich'in people. The Gwich'in, you're talking about the Gwich'in, you're talking about Vinitai, Arctic Village, Old Crow Flats, Old Crow Grassroots, Fort McPherson. You're talking about the same culture, the same native people, the same Athabascan tribe.
The Gwich'in had good reason to unite. Their future was at stake. The porcupine caribou herd is the lifeblood of the Gwich'in. They are worried about the future of this honored and valuable resource.
It's a human issue. It's not caribou issue. it's our land issue too.
As I see that sign now, I get it. It's the key. Is it undergrass, grass, and the second, and the second hurricane, he said, I want to. Because inside, I look at the tongue written G.A.K. The tongue A.K. Uki using grand I quite. Just the grand A.K. And A.K. Shen A.K. Queen Corn Garden. It's a done just another kind. Such a chicky, we could tell get second.
She dig is a connoted, not nearly can great ticket and check. She heat that and che. We could just down a lead that had no news. Nearly it we see dig and a hand check. What the black hat kind of up the leg that black was like a hand and she sack with the catalog and that Sayaka. It is a test of a hand ice that he put the last after the black hacken leads a guy. I didn't take it or anything leads a translated act, it leads it eat a guy. The hat of that hand checked on that see I that fruit I eat.
My father raised me up. He taught me about how to take care of animals, and I understand what he meant after 47 years. So this is something that I will have to carry out with my boy so that he'll do the same thing, not to misuse the animal or the land.
Just like Akanaki, just like Laney Kennedy, each of Akanaki. I can't Quincy Kokon. Kitty that some such at Akanaki. Nenta chat at that height as yet at Akanaki can't go. That was soup Kokon. Then cheese of a cottage of Yan but I said that the Kuri one day. I cook carrot. Nation ko anwat sa ne se he atan rek di the ha u gelat et in se chai ai che se ret nan khakon tai sak yet sa a ko ai bete ke ko izutra ko sai chi ku he tri kunya.
Development now threatens to destroy the porcupine caribou herd. The American government is considering opening up the calving grounds for oil exploration.
I just did oil green here, just at the garage, a coddy one. None. Just did we should go run tie air. Just did shoot a hand chair, clean, just a Gunzi, just a great Gunzi, didn't you care?
This doesn't make sense to destroy such a nice piece of land. The last frontier, they call it. I don't see why we should mess with it. It doesn't belong to nobody.
Je na ta kuja ko na sai ko kachiti kon dai ta sak na sai ai ti sak kin ke kuja ko li ko shin ku ke se ko an ko ai gen ji chuk to te sakot ne sta sa so na shin ju ku ti nan shin ku shin ja ko ti ni chuk tin tai che ko ji tin ji tai ko da Jesus Christ, who is it? Amen.
Once again, thank you, Native Northern Broadcasting and NEDAA out of Whitehorse for that video and allowing me to air the segment of the Gwich'in people. The title, by the way, is Gwich'in Nitsa. Thank you once again for joining me on Heartbeat Alaska. Please continue to send your video. I'm looking forward to sharing your village and your community with everyone else that watches Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green, and we'll see you again next week.
Second,